Hillel, talk to me about your company and what you guys are doing and why it's so awesome and why people should just run with it right now.
Yeah, thank you. So ProtectOnce is trying to democratize. I love people use that word. It's so abused. I'm going to say it anyway, democratized API security. What I mean by that is when we looked at API security about a year and a half ago, and we looked at some of the, the big incumbents in this sort of new space. One of the things that really felt important was the agentless nature of it. So people, I think this is a pendulum that swings back and forth, throughout history in security is you go from I really care about security. I'm going to do a lot of heavy lifting to get security in place because it's a big problem. To security's too hard. I'm spending too much energy on it. I want things that are simple solutions, even if they give me somewhat less security. And we swing back and forth between those two, those two ends of things. Right now, we are in the agentless. Sorry, right now we're in that agentless space where we spent a lot of energy on security 3, 4 years ago. We're sick of it. We want things that are click, 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 and that just work. Sometimes we're willing to sacrifice security. So everyone wants agentless security, and the API security space about 2 years ago really shifted hard towards agentless solutions rather than things that are agents and installations and proxies and plugins. And at the same time, when we looked at the solutions that were emerging, they were still really cumbersome to deploy and operate. They were agentless in some way, meaning they didn't actually run something on your instances or workloads, but you needed a lot of information and a lot of knowledge to deploy them. You needed to kind of be a security engineer and a networking engineer and a Kubernetes expert and a lot of other things to really make a difference. And I think what we're trying to do is we're trying to say, okay, that works for someone who's got, a really well-trained person who can go spend a lot of time solving this problem on an ongoing basis. But for a lot of organizations, API security is one part of the puzzle. There's other parts, and they're not necessarily experts at everything you'd want them to be experts in to make those decisions. They don't really know how to figure out which parts of the network are exposed and which aren't, or how to configure the network to allow traffic mirroring or inspection of things, et cetera. And so for us, it was about trying to take that approach, but say, okay, how simple could we make it? And in the beginning, you think, well, users are still going to have to make decisions about certain things. But in a lot of cases, when you really push, you figure out, you know what? For 95% of users, of deployments, I can do something that doesn't really require you to make too many decisions, right? So for Amazon environments, we've got like a cloud formation stack that you deploy in, and it just sort of magically figures out, okay, what are the public facing resources? What aren't? If something's behind an ALB, behind an NLB, where's the best place to mirror traffic there? If things are in different availability zones, how do we make sure we're mirroring it within the same availability zones so we're not, increasing network traffic costs? There's all these things that in a lot of other systems, you got to make those decisions, and they just require you to really be an expert in a lot of things. And I just don't think people can do that. Even the few that are, those people, if you're an expert in all those things, you should be focused on other parts of the problem. You're a real top-notch expert, right? And this should be one of those things you can just click, deploy. So what we've really set out to build is something, first AWS, and we're doing a Kubernetes, which we're rolling out in a couple of weeks, and then Azure is coming soon. Something where you can drop it into an environment in literally 5 minutes and 3 clicks. It gives you visibility into where your APIs are, where your private data is, where your sensitive data is, where there's authentication, where there isn't, what kind of posture problems you have, and then where actual attacks are happening. It's not just about kind of static posture, but actually what's happening. All that, again, in that 5-minute click, click, click. One of the things I just to go back and close the loop is I am a believer in that pendulum. And I do think that as we go forward, we're going to see customers say, hey, wait a minute, I get that I can detect attacks, but I really need to stop them before they happen. I do want to deploy certain things in certain places. And so one of the things we're focused on is this kind of hybrid model, which is not a great name, well, not a clever name, but I think it illustrates what we mean is a hybrid model where you start with an agentless solution, click, 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 deploy 5 minutes, you feel really good, you've got visibility, you know what's going on. If you're under attack, you see it and you can react to it. And then you say, okay, I've got this continuum where I can say, okay, actually, you know what, I want to do some integrations with my AWS WAF or my ingress controller Nginx or something in Kubernetes so that I can tell it to actually block certain IP addresses that are misbehaving or anything like that. So now you've got like agentless plus, let's say. And then you go, okay, there's some workloads where I don't want to wait to detect and then respond. I don't want to wait for the second attack to block the IP. I want to be in line. If someone does something malicious, I want to block it. And there I'm going to have to put a proxy or an agent in place. And so the hybrid approach says, start with agentless, click, 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 get visibility. Then the system says, you know what, here, you've got an API, it's kind of exposed, there's some PII, they're not authenticated. This is a good place for you to put something in front of it or inside it. And here's how you can click and do that, right? And so that's really what we're after is start with super low friction, then find the lowest friction path to kind of higher level security when people are ready for it. And I think that's coming in a year or two.
That's awesome. It sounds like you guys have a really cool plan. And and I'm excited to see how that comes forward.